Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked. Here we go. Your dial is set correctly to USA Prepares. We're delighted you're in class with us. Nathan is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota at GCN. I'm Vincent Finelli. Rich Scheben is with us. Welcome, Rich Scheben.
Well, thank you, Vincent Finelli. How are you this morning?
I'm ready. I am ready to discuss what is wrong with America. I've been thinking about it for a few days, actually a few years, and I'm ready to share with our class what I think is wrong with America. Are you prepared to join in with this expose, this special broadcast on what's wrong with America?
I don't know. I'm kind of shy, so I'll give it my best shot. But I hope we talk about important things like the article I have in front of me about California Health Organization has decided to replace the word vagina with the more gender-inclusive word frontal. So I sure hope we talk about stuff really important like this, Vince. Can we please? Huh?
Okay. All right, here we go. I have in front of me a player, and this player will play a speech, about 7 minutes, 49 seconds. I was on stage on last Friday at Laclede Electric Cooperative, and there were allegedly 2,700 people there, and some of them were voters, about 1,067 if I have the number correctly. Let's double check that. I believe it was 1,067 people were registered voters for the board of directors. And the board of directors is a team of 9 people who have the fiduciary responsibility to keep the corporation operating and to take care of the customers, which happen to be the members. The members happen to be the owners. So this is an organization where the people who buy electricity are the owners of the organization, allegedly. That's what they say. I find that difficult to understand in practice, but that's what they say. So I was on stage, and I'd like to play for you what I said. Now, I can't show you this. This file is huge. It's like over a gigabyte, so I can't put it on the internet. It's absolutely huge. But you can hear the audio, and it was recorded by a cell phone. Someone in the audience recorded it. And in the middle of it, I was stopped by the corporate attorney. I was stopped twice by the corporate attorney. The police were to the side of the stage. I was on stage. There were nine directors. 3 of them were up for re-election, and there were 4 challengers to those running for re-election. One guy has, let me just read this. One guy has, one gal. The gal I was running against has been in the Laclede Electric Service area for 50 years. So she's been a customer for 50 years. Another guy, she was in District 1. District 2, this guy's been in the Laclede County for 55 years. Another guy, 42 years. I mean, these guys are institutions in terms of longevity. Well, that is what it says as part of their qualifications to be on the board, how long they've been in the county or in the service area. I haven't been there that long. I've only been there 13 years. So you will hear me say, I'm not finished. I'm not finished. That's when the attorney was about to throw me off stage. Okay? You'll hear me say that. So here we go. Let's play this clip, and then, Rich Scheben, I'd love to discuss this with you, get your take, and this is what's wrong with America. I was badly beaten. Badly beaten. How badly? I got about 20% of the vote. Ready? Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. O'Daniel. Next to speak from District 1, Vincent Finelli.
Hi, how are you? I'm Vincent Finelli. I've been asked by you, the members of the Guineith Electric Cooperative, to run against the directors seeking re-election. You're the most important people in this room. You are the owners of the Guineith Electric Corporation. You control what happens at Guineith Electric tonight. You are in charge. Before I begin, I'd like to share a one-sentence prayer that I wrote a few days ago. Lord, please consider blessing us with clarity of thought, the desire to ferret out the truth, and the determination to act with honesty and integrity in all that we do. Mark Rocker, CEO of the Guineith Electric Cooperative, asked me to tell you about myself and my family. When I was 10, I met my wife in 1962, in 4th grade, the prettiest girl in the class. 10 years later, in 1972, I dated her. 7 years later, in 1979, I married her. Together we have 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter, and I'm currently married to that same pretty girl for 39 years. She's here tonight. My parents were devout Christians. I graduated from a Christian high school and 2 universities. I have 2 degrees in finance and economics, and I hold a master's degree in business administration. I've been trained by some of the world's largest corporations. I was hired as a computer systems designer, computer network designer, and efficiency expert by cities, counties, and some of the largest companies in the United States. One of my accomplishments was the automation of the entire city of Fayetteville, North Carolina. In 1980, I founded a satellite communications company. We manufactured one of the world's first satellite TV systems for the home. You know, those 10 and 12-foot dish systems, you've seen them. In the 1990s, I was a chief computer consultant for multiple county school districts in Virginia. I designed and built sophisticated computer systems that propelled our county public school from last place to first place in 2 years. It became the envy of the Virginia public school system. The NBC Today show heard about it, and in a very poor rural county, they came to see us. They produced a special broadcast about my designs to teach children. In early 2000, we could clearly see that our country was in trouble. Roads were falling into disrepair, power failures were becoming more commonplace, and taxes were increasing in every imaginable way. My father, my mother, and my children and I were looking for a place to land. We found it right here in Grove Spring, Missouri. Clean air, clean water, a minimum of electromagnetic radiation, and away from people who were causing the decay of our country. We bought a neglected farm with no house. Our 15-year-old son and I managed the building of our stone farmhouse while we lived in one room, powered by a single extension cord for 18 months. Our bed was an old oriental rug, folded 3 layers thick. Our shower was a 100-foot garden hose stretched out in the sun to warm the water. That 18 months provided some of the best education our son ever received. He learned about plumbing, heating, wiring, concrete forming, sheetrock framing, violent weather, ice storms, and surviving the elements. Well, in Missouri, I volunteered to teach anyone who's interested about preparing for the future. So far, I've volunteered over 4,680 hours, and I built the country's largest preparedness expo. A radio station, AM 1340 in Springfield, Missouri, learned about my expo and offered me a radio program. Then KWTO AM 560 offered me the coveted afternoon drive time slot 5 days a week. Now I'm a nationally syndicated radio broadcaster hosting a 2-hour radio broadcast on AM, FM, satellite, internet, YouTube, telephone, listen line. I broadcast 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday. I'm on the air 24 hours a day, including right now. And if you dial this number, you can listen to me on the air. 605-477-3249. I'm the country's only I'm the country's only broadcaster whose radio program is on 2 competing networks. If you've heard of Dr. Norm Shealy, he's been on the air with me 2 hours a week for 7 years. So, what have I done for you in this room? A few years ago, I stopped the gun confiscation of your black rifles, AR-15s, AK-47s, certain shotguns, magazines over 10 rounds. And if the Missouri House Bill 540 passed, owning any of these would make you a Class C felon. I stopped it. I'm not done. Well, I'm not done. I don't take direction very well either. And this is what I think should be important to you. I built a solar power generation system with Mrs. Finelli and our son. We designed, engineered, welded a solar rack using the used materials that we purchased in Lebanon. We have an off-grid system capable of powering our farm, and it also supplies electricity to you as well, including right here, right now. It works. It's been in operation for almost 2 years without a single failure. I built the world's first off-grid solar-powered national radio broadcast studio. I sell electricity to Guineith Electric for 2.1 cents a kilowatt hour. They in turn sell it to you for 10 cents a kilowatt hour. I'm hurting it. Okay, well, why am I here? My electric bill is too high, way too high, and I will do my best to lower it for all of us. I'm a teacher, and I want to teach you to do what I've done, to lower your electric bill and protect yourself from an electromagnetic pulse. I have a plan to teach you how to do this for free at the cooperative. Tonight's meeting cost you $65,000. If I'm elected, I will forego my director's salary if the 8 other directors agree to do so. How much are you paying your directors? About $24,000 a year. Now you know why these people are here. Because they're receiving about $24,000 a year. Right after this election is a board meeting. If I'm elected, I'll have a seat on the board and I won't rest and I won't let the rest of the board members go home without addressing my proposal to reduce your electric rates by 10% effective tomorrow morning. I'm Vincent Finelli. Above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.
So class, let me just give you a little mental image of what that was like. So there were allegedly 2,700 people in the auditorium, according to Guineith Electric Cooperative. They posted it on their website. It was difficult, to say the least. Bright lights from my eyes. Had 2 cops ready to take me off the stage. And they were right near the stage. And there was a roped-off seating area. And this roped-off seating area was for the special people. And for probably a few hours, I might have been considered a special person because I was challenging the existing board member. Well, I wouldn't sit there. I have a feeling that they said, all right, this is where the candidates are going to sit, telling the cops. So, and here's what the guy looks like. So, keep an eye on this guy. Now, I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying I think that's true because the cops were there. The cops were there looking at where I was supposed to be. And I was just a little bit behind there. So I was sitting with the people, not with, in the section that I was supposed to sit in. You probably heard me say, I'm not finished. I'm not finished. That's when the attorney came up to me. So I'm speaking, and this guy gets right in my face while I'm on stage. I mean, he's like right next to me. He's fidgeting. He's walking back and forth. He's telling me I have 1 minute left. Everybody spoke way, way, way over their time. How much time were they given? Well, they were told by the attorney before we started, okay, we're going to hear from the candidates. Now, this is after the person in charge of the nominating committee talked about how wonderful the nominating committee candidates were. So what does that mean? So the existing board of directors, the guys running for re-election and the gal running for re-election, they formed their own committee. So Brenda Nutter, who I was running against, forms a committee of 2 people, and they find somebody to run against Brenda Nutter. So that person is nominated by the nominating committee. Who is he? That's Stan O'Daniel. He's a farmer and a certified hunter safety instructor. That's the first sentence in his bio. It was a situation where we were all given 1 minute to speak. Now, think about this. Have you ever been on an interview where you've been told, okay, glad to see you. This is your interview. You have 1 to 2 minutes. That's it. And this is for the highest level of the board of Laclede Electric Cooperative, the highest level of the corporation. This is what's wrong with this country. It is impossible to win. So how did Vinny do? I'll tell you. Brenda Nutter, entrenched board member, who is learning. She's going to school and she's learning, about what she needs to know. She's going to school to, learn more about how to be a director. Okay. She is a licensed insurance staff member of an insurance company. She got 601 votes. Stan O'Daniel, who was a nominating committee candidate to run against her, got 112 votes. 112. She got 601. He got 112. I got 144. Every challenger, all 4 challengers against the incumbents, the 3 incumbents, all of us lost. Every single one of us lost in a big way. Why is that? So, Rich, those are some of the facts. I have a lot more, but I wanted to get your thoughts so far.
Yeah, well, we're in an era, Vince, where by, of, and for the people no longer exists. We're in an era where there's a war on truth, war on middle class, war on people who help others. The little people is supposed to stay off to the side, take the crumbs they get, and shut up. So when you look at the hierarchy and the corruptness in the hierarchy, basically at every level in so-called commerce, big banks, Wall Street, the Catholic Church, mainstream media, too big government, too big to fail, too big to jail, corporate oligarchies, pedophile situation, intelligence agencies, just like power company monopolies. They are all bought and paid for from the corrupt hierarchy. And I hear the music, so I will continue after the break. Vince?
Yeah. Okay, Rich Scheben, offgridmontana.com. Offgridmontana.com. This is USA Prepares. So, class, at the registration line, I was allowed to meet with those registering to vote and registering to get their prize, which was an extension cord. It was a really nice extension cord. I figure that they gave out at least 1,067 of these extension cords. They're about 20 feet long, 15 to 20 feet long. They had a light on the end, a neon light. They're very, very high quality. I looked it up on Amazon. You can buy them for $19.20. I figure they probably, because they bought so many of them, they probably paid about $15 for them. And so if there were 1,000 of them that they gave out more. But if there are only 1,000 of them at $15 a piece, that's $15,000. Okay. Well, I shook just about everybody's hand who would in the registration line. Of the 2,700 people, I think about 1,067 actually registered. And I said to them the following: I'm Vincent Finelli. I'm here to lower your electric bill. And I handed them a copy of my resume. Okay? I'm Vincent Finelli. I will lower your electric bill. I'm Vincent Finelli. I will lower your electric bill. Over and over and over and over for a couple of hours. Okay? It didn't work. It didn't work. There's nothing that you can do in terms of qualifications. There's nothing that you can do in terms of achievement. There's nothing you can do in terms of education. There's nothing you can do in terms of presentation. There's nothing you can do to fight this machine. And right after the candidates spoke, the announcement was made, well, our power supplier is raising our rates. And so, therefore, we're going to have to raise your rates. Right after I was done speaking, they announced they're going to raise the rates. For the 9th time in 15 years. They already raised our rates this year. They're going to do it again. And these people seem to think that's okay because they can dance to the music, they can swing and sway because they're playing, vintage rock and roll, and it's just a wonderful thing, and they can eat their popcorn and hot dogs. People were carrying out their hot dogs in stacks in these take-home containers, like from their belly to their chin, holding them up. Free hot dogs. This is awesome. Free hot dogs. Votes are being bought with pomp and circumstance. Bread and circuses. I saw it firsthand 3 times. 3 times over 3 years. Rich?
Well, the first thing you need to do, Vince, is next year when you have that meeting, instead of having all this fancy rock and roll stuff and these big hits, you should hire me to sing. I guarantee you I will clear out the room in less than 30 seconds. And maybe you have a chance on winning. But
I have no chance.
That great strategy aside, let me continue my comments from before the break.
Yeah. Please.
All right.
Please do.
So it's amazing that when you show the people that the people at the top who are using the status quo, who are feathering their own nest in front of the people paying for it. That's one of the reasons I talked about, a few months ago, and I put so much emphasis into stock buybacks and how it feathers the nest of the primary preferred shareholders regarding dividends. It feathers the nest of the executives and when they cash in their stock options, etc. I've gone through hours with detail and specificity on that. And this is just a microcosm or a small analogy to what's happening. And the game is rigged. It's rigged at all levels. And it's analogous to our big corporate tech companies. You know, how they're changing all the information. And there's basically a few wealthy people controlling the narrative at the top at every level, like the examples I mentioned right before the break. At every level, in every rigged game in America and the Western world. So this is what big tech is doing right now. They're removing or manipulating the followers, the likes, the comments, the search results. Basically, with computer algorithms and shadow banning and tools of this nature, the people aren't getting the information. You could not get to the people. You could not get the database of the voters because the game is rigged. Now, I want to mention one comment that you talked about, and it was very hard to hear, by the way, Vince, and no offense, but the audio was very poor. I heard about 90% of it, but you were talking about your listening line, and I just want to make a comment because of the big tech controlling the listeners, the followers, the likes, shadow banning, and all this stuff. I'll tell you, listeners, I've had much more luck, not putting down your listening line or your website, but I've had much more luck going on GCNlive.com. Okay? GodCountryNationLive.com. And then you go to USA Prepares, and then you click on the arrow, or you go and you hit listen. You can either go into archives or listen live. I've had much more success going into that venue than I've had other venues, including Vince's website and including the listen line. So I just wanted to mention that fact, and the fact that you're also on RBN, Republic Broadcasting Network. And I believe, Vince, you are the only one who is on both networks. But GCNlive.com has been the less disruptive with what big tech is doing right now. So I just want a little FYI there. And, Vince, I want to ask you, before, during, and after, what kind of comments did you get from the board members, from other people running? Did anything kind of raise an eyebrow during this bread and circus? Yeah. A great point. Yeah, I was on stage, and another candidate was speaking, and I was standing next to there were 7 of us on stage. 3 seeking re-election, 4 challengers. 3 of the 4 challengers were from the nominating committee, and I was a challenger outside the nominating committee,
as a challenger from the people. You know, the villagers wanted me to run as an alternative because they're sick of the nominating committee. They know what the nominating committee is. It's a friendship thing that tries to find a candidate that can't win, right? So that way the incumbent can be reelected. Well, I was outside of all that. I'm just the guy who's with the people trying to lower our electric bills and protect us from an electromagnetic pulse. So I'm the odd man out. So I was standing next to one of the board members on stage, not on the microphone. We were just in line, okay? And I was standing there for everybody to look at us. And I turned to him and I said quietly, "So do you think we can work together?" His response, "Absolutely not." He was emphatic and furious with his tone. Okay? Then he made a derogatory remark, which I shall not repeat, about me. Absolutely unacceptable. Character unbecoming a kind person. Character unbecoming a board of directors member. He should be removed for cause. Okay? He could have said something like, "You know, Vincent, I don't agree with you. I like the electric rates the way they are. I can work with you, but, you know, we don't agree." He didn't say that. "Absolutely not," was his response, verbatim, plus a derogatory remark. I talked with some other people. You know, I shook a lot of hands, and I'd say, "I'm Vin Finelli. I'm here to lower your electric bill." And these ladies, I mean, lady after lady after lady after lady, would say to me, "Oh, thank you so much. I can't afford my electric bill. They keep raising my rates." They have this this program where they can come and do an energy audit, and they, you know, did the energy audit, and my bill went up. People said, "You know, ever since they put these smart meters in, my bill went up." So how much are the smart meters? $5 million. This board of directors spent $5 million. Well, I guess we had some meter readers that were costing too much. Can you imagine that? Meter readers that cost too much. Before that, you used to send in the amount of electricity. You'd read your meter and send it in. Well, I guess that postcard was too expensive. So they replaced it with $5 million worth of smart meters. How long do the smart meters last? About 10 years. How long do the old analog meters last? Well, they keep going after 40 years. 4 times as long. So they sent out people at about $80 per installation to threaten people like me to say, "You will let this smart meter be installed right now, or I'm calling the sheriff on you, Finelli." That's Laclede Electric, the kinder, gentler electric company that is. Okay. So people, I've got a whole bunch of comments. I go on for hours on this. What I saw, the people want lower electric rates. They want lower electric bills, but that's not what the vote showed. So I said, I want to go in the vote counting room, and I brought my son with me. Her son's 25 years old. And we just stayed against the wall. I sat down, he stood up. We didn't move. We entered the room before the votes were brought in, and they started counting them. I didn't say one word. He didn't say one word, you know, when they started counting votes, not one. We had some pleasantries before that, not one word. And then the attorney came over to me, and I said to him, that was absolutely unfair what he did to me on stage. And I demanded equal time because one of the directors attacked me on stage. And he said, he was talking about my website. I'm going to have to go to the website and read it to you. We'll do that next segment. I'll read exactly what he was talking about. And he made it seem like I was a non-civil buffoon. And I had no time. They wouldn't let me back on the stage to counter that. It was exactly what you said. It was a carnival. It was bread and circuses. It was free hot dogs. Get all the nitrates and nitrites you can slam down your throat. Potato chips, popcorn, and soda and diet soda. And you could get water too. And they had a band playing, and they gave out gift certificates. Since when does an electric cooperative have to give out gift certificates to Walmart and a 65-inch TV? What's that all about? That's what they did. Boy, am I angry. Because I don't want you to think that I'm saying these things as a result of sour grapes, that, I'm disappointed that I didn't win, and that's why I'm saying these things. I'm saying these things as a lesson to what it's like when you go up against the big bad machine. It is darn near impossible. So I got some information from the CEO, Mark Rocker is his name, and I asked him, here's my question. Can you tell me the actual annual compensation per board member, not including per diem? He responds, total director compensation net of per diem as a group 2017 is $133,453. And then he says, and then the actual per diem amount per board member, total director per diem paid as a group for 2017 is $105,488. You add that together and you get $217,000. These 9 guys and gals get $217,000 for year 2017. So I'm up there, and after I'm done, one of the directors running for re-election says, I don't know what Mr. Finelli's talking about. Now I'm paraphrasing. I only get $400 a day. It's hard. It's hard work, a lot of work. Unbelievable. So I get the information from the CEO, and then a board member says on stage that he only gets $400 a day. Well, you have to add all that up. How many days? How many trips? How many junkets? How much education does this guy need in order to start doing his job? And he said on stage, this is after me, he has a business degree, and he said that his business degree has come in useful because he helps him understand financial statements. I got to tell you, I have a master's degree in business. Okay, I think if you sat Captain John Regan, who has a master's in business as well, and if you sat us next to each other and we were looking at the financial statements, we'd be scratching our heads trying to figure out how these things were created and what's buried in them. So what does that take? It takes a forensic accountant. What a bloodhound. A forensic accountant is a specialist in the practice of accounting that describes engagements that result from actual or anticipated disputes or litigation. That's someone who really understands the tricks of the trade. And it would take someone like that, I believe, to understand what's going on in these financial statements, because they have something that I never studied called patronage capital. Patronage capital. What's that? Rich, did you ever learn what patronage capital was in your studies?
Maybe not quite by that name.
Mm-hmm. Patronage capital is the difference between a cooperative's operating income and the operating expenses for a given year. So they get income and they have expenses, and then what's left over is patronage capital. Well, they keep it until they decide to return it. Another way of looking at this is it's an overcharge. It's an overcharge. They charge more than they need, and then they hold on to it. I have in my hands, as Rush Limbaugh would say, shuffling the paper, I have a check stub, and it says I have a patronage capital return for year 2015, 2016, 2017. Grand total, $11.12. Everybody who has an account gets a patronage capital check. When? Just before the election. So everybody feel really good. Hey, I got my $11.12. This is awesome. We have the best electric cooperative because they give us money back. It's overcharges. Okay. So what I'm saying is it is extremely difficult to run against what I would say is one of the biggest conglomerates, monopolies, oligopolies in the country. I've gone head-to-head with the number 2 trash company in the country. We beat them. I went against the largest private prison group. Beat them. But the largest electric utility, conglomerate, cooperative, oligopoly, monopoly, that's a different story. That's tough. We'll be right back. Now, I admit it, I admitted, class, I'm not very smart, and I'm going to prove it to you. So in the mid-1980s, I was in the president's office of the bank, and I had been telling him about a computer system that I was building, and I was giving him a progress report, and the marketing guy comes in, the VP of marketing, and he starts talking, he interrupts. That's what marketing guys do. They're the prima donnas in the banking world. And he interrupts, and he's telling the president about this new idea about ATMs, automated teller machines, okay? And he was saying, this is great because, we'll just charge our customers $2.99, to get their money out of their account. And I looked at him, I looked at the president, I'm thinking, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Who in their right mind would pay $2.99 to get their own money out of their own account? Who would do that? I can't imagine. What a dumb idea, right? What a stupid idea. Well, I'm just proving how I'm not very smart. And then another time this guy walks in, the marketing guy walks into the president's office, and he says, hey, teachers only get paid 9 months out of the year. I'm talking about public school teachers, other teachers, 9 months out of the year. And so what we'll do is instead of having them pay 12 times a year on their credit card statement, we'll give them a payment holiday. Okay? So since they only get paid 9 times a year instead of 12, we'll let them skip a payment. Any month they want, we'll let them skip that payment. But the interest will keep running. We'll keep charging them interest, but they can skip a payment. I'm thinking, who in their right mind would do that? So I'm telling you that I've been wrong on both of those accounts, because teachers will skip paying their credit card statement and let the interest keep accumulating. And people will pay that $2.99 to get their own money out of their own account rather than going to the bank on their lunch hour and walking up to the window. They'll walk to the side of the bank and pay $2.99 rather than walk into the bank. I'm talking about the ATM on the side of the bank. Too hard to make those extra steps to go right up, through the front door, say hi to the teller, get your transaction complete. No. $2.99 saves you all that hassle. Well, why am I telling you that? Because I have in my hand a Laclede Electric Cooperative annual meeting schedule of events, and on the back it says, you can prepay your electric bill. I'm going to read this verbatim. It's just a short paragraph. Laclede Electric Cooperative's prepay program is changing the way people pay for their electricity. It puts members in the account management driver's seat. Buying electricity, like we buy gasoline, before we use it, allows you to avoid deposits, due dates, and late fees. We know paychecks and billing cycles don't always match. Prepay gives you the flexibility to make smaller, more frequent payments when it's right for your budget, instead of a single larger payment by a fixed due date. Also, prepay makes you more aware of your energy consumption, helping you manage your usage. Okay, now, that would be one of those things that I would say, you got to be kidding me. You mean to tell me that paying for your electricity before you use it is like gasoline, paying for gasoline? You put your credit card in the automated pump, and it says, okay, pump your gas, and I'll tell you how much the bill is going to be, and we're going to deduct that from your credit card when you put the nozzle back into the pump, okay? Well, the difference is, with gasoline, you own it. It's in your tank. It's not like prepaying for electricity that you are dependent on them to give you later on. You actually own the gasoline that's in your tank. Now that you own it, you can use it at your level of consumption. Electricity, prepaying for it, is giving the electric company your money in advance. It's different. But I'm sure this was reviewed by their lawyer, and I asked him, how much are we paying? I said to the lawyer, how much are we paying you? He said, well, it depends. I said, how much are we paying you? Well, it depends. Different months, different amounts. How much are we paying you? Well, I charge $225 an hour. So how much are we paying your firm? Well, it depends. He wouldn't tell me. This is the kind of answers that you get when you try Now, I'm an owner of the company. I can't find out. How am I an owner? Because I'm a member. And they tell me that I own this company along with all the other members. But it's not true, because if I were an owner, I could find out. Rich?
Okay. Well, you said a lot of stuff. I'll try to comment on as much as I can. You mentioned about the smart meter. Well, I'll give you a little analogy here. Here in America, trading is done, 75% of trading is done with high computers. High-frequency trading is an example. And when you have more computers doing it, more electronics, you have less accountability and you have more room to hack and fix and change numbers. It's just like a lot of examples I've given over time on how they've changed the unit of measures and calculations on unemployment and CPI and inflation and yield curves and et cetera. I've gone through hours of this, and that's what's happening. This is what so-called technology allows the manipulator, the corrupter, to do. And just like smart meters, you mentioned that how they don't have the shelf life of the old analog meters. Well, that's called forced obsolescence. And that's part of the same corporate model that's happening, from Wall Street to the banks, the insurance companies, basically all the big corporate oligarchies, especially the ones that have been bailed out because they're too big to fail and too big to jail. So when you have all of these companies, especially the small, if you will, electric company, co-op in your district, they really don't have competition because they're the only show in town, or at least in that region. So when they're taking all this money, they're raising rates, and they've got smart meters, and they're saying, well, prices are going up because of this, they're going up because of that. They want you to prepay, which basically means, less accountability from the corporate oligarchies. Basically, it's let's say you have your average bill, I'm shooting from the hip here, let's say it's $60 a month, and you pay $500. You say, I'll probably keep me for, a year or whatever. Well, how do you know what kind of, you're probably not going to have the due diligence to do line item checking. It's analogous to a checking charge. Let's say you give your credit card company $1,000 because you spend an average of $100 a month. Well, you give them $1,000. Well, they can put all these extra hidden fees. They can increase it, and you have a tendency to not do due diligence and do your line item checking and say, I didn't really order this. This is somebody else. Or what's this hidden fee? Don't worry about it. I still have money in that bank. And that's what happens. So they love to do prepay. And when companies get excess liquidity, and I've used a similar analogy when I talk about QE, okay? It basically leads to a misallocation of capital resources. But as the people get poorer and poorer and poorer, especially the bottom 93%, the main customer base, which is actually happening, and here you are trying to help out the people of your district with ideas and solutions to lower people's bill, and that's why the status quo, who has been feathered in the nest, keeps rigging the game. So when you have liquidity receding because people are getting poor and the bills are going up and the customer service is going down and the accountability is going down from the corporate standpoint as well. And, whether you call it, it can be analogous to QT or quantitative tightening or unwinding or balance sheet normalization. Doesn't matter what catchphrase you use of the day, but it creates a misallocation of funds. It invites corruption. It breeds manipulation. And all that extra money that has been going to the elite or the power brokers in the hierarchy on the inside, this is going to be revealed over time. And so they got to continue to double down on distracting the people with the bread and circuses, with the hot dogs, with the music, etc. They got to keep dumbing down the people, and they certainly don't want a Vince Finelli talking about solar power to give options and solutions to make to educate the people, not only to lower their bill, but to give people skill sets. They don't want that. So they have to divide the American people. I think people who've been listening to the show for a few years know I talk about the MO of the elite, which is to distract, dumb down, and divide the people by every group imaginable. So when Vince Finelli goes there, well, he's got to be put into a subset. So he's got to be put down. He's got to be demonized. He has to be delegitimized. He has to be discredited, despite the fact, Vince, your resume, you sent it to me the other day. I tell you, there's only one word to describe it, and that's impressive. And the things that you can do and the skill sets that you have, we've gotten to the point where the powers that be, to keep the status quo, to keep rigging the game, they are afraid to have all this corruption be revealed. So they are doubling down to keep the game going. It's kind of like, and we've talked about this, at least privately, philanthropy. What is that? You hear about all these big multi-gazillionaires, okay, which is upper, major millionaires and billionaires, obviously. Oh, I'm going to go help the people. They don't help the people. They put it into charities and certain groups, which divide the people, because that's what pays, is to divide the people, divide and conquer. And I'll talk more about that after the break.
Yeah, Rich Scheben, offgridmontana.com. Rich Scheben, offgridmontana.com. Yes, I just want to say that everything that you've heard so far on this broadcast and what you will hear from me, these are my opinions. These are my opinions, okay? And I'm allowed to have an opinion, and I'm allowed to have multiple opinions. Well, just very briefly, one director said while on stage, and he was following me, I had no way of commenting about this. He said, I'm paraphrasing, that we have a smooth-running board of directors. We don't need any disruption. He said that to the audience and the voting members. I wonder what he meant by that. We don't need any disruptions. I have a feeling he was talking about me. So how long does the President of the United States serve for? That'd be 4 years. How many terms can a president have? 2. Total of 8 years. Now we're talking about the President of the United States. How long has, I said to Mark Rocker, the CEO of Laclede Electric, here's my exact question. How long has each current board member served in years? Answer. Lawrence, 46 years. Cravens, 19 years. Hoffman, 14 years. Nutter, Bishop, and Little, 9 years. Harris, 7 years. Robbins, 6 years. And Jones, 3 years. There's one board member that's been on the board for 46 years. 46 years. Do you think that's excessive? Do you think, and if you look at the rate increases, all of the directors have presided over multiple rate increases, all of them. Robert in Kansas, welcome.
Hey, Vincent.
Hey.
It's all about marketing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, sounds like you need some term limits on those board of directors if they're there 40 years. That's
I did that last year. After the meeting, or at the end of the meeting, they said, "Is there any new business?" And I waved my hand, and I was near the front, and I was ignored. And I waved and stood up, and I was ignored by the guy at the microphone, the president of the board. So I stood up, ran over to right in front of him, in front of everybody, and I said, "Yes, term limits, 1 term." And I was shouted down by a guy in the audience. No! Really? No? And they had at that point, they had increased the electric bills 7 times at that point.
I'm surprised they didn't shout you down last night.
Well, they had the police there. They had the police.
Well,
and
that speech you gave was something else.
Well, I'd like to hear your comments. Why did you say that?
Well, it was great. I can't believe you said that. And did you say 2,700 people were there?
Yes.
In that area? Was it there in the hamlet, or was it down south? Like I think the county seat is down south there. Was it down there, or was it up near?
It was in Lebanon, Missouri, Lebanon, at the Cowan, Cowan Civic Center, the same facility where we held 3 of our expos. I
thought y'all got 2,700 people out of Wright County. I was like, wow, Vincent, you really made an impact on the local understanding of anything. You can treat that as a major success as far as I'm concerned. The information you got out in that short period of time to that many people, regardless of the outcome of the election, that's fantastic, man. I'm really proud of you. That was great. I can't believe you said that.
Well, was there any specific thing that I said that piqued your interest?
Well, just the fact that you're willing to go out on a limb and say things that, the average politician, they don't want to jeopardize the comfort in a voter's mind in any sort of real way. They want to promote things like, we're going to be stable and have these governors and everything's going to be the same. They don't want any change because they're in control. And so, it's for you to go up there is like Trump, I guess, a very non-politician thing to say. He's not really, you weren't trying to make people feel good. You were trying to tell the truth, which in the situation we're in, obviously, in the world, that could be a negative thing. But then a lot of people, they just don't want to hear that, so.
Well, I can tell you what went through my mind right after I got off stage is now I have just a speck of the feeling that Trump must have, being surrounded, outnumbered. Not that I'm Trump, not in any sense of the imagination, but I know what it's like to be attacked.
And a little barter under the table, a little, hey, you keep me on the board, you give me my 24 grand, we'll raise the prices, we'll pad the executive's salary and stock options, and everybody will be happy. But not, of course, everybody. Vince, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm here. Okay, Vince is here too.
Okay. Let me just read very quickly from their website. It says the following Laclede Electric Cooperative members were elected to serve on the board for 3 years. Brenda Nutter, District 1, Darrell Bishop, District 2, and Randall Little from District 3. A total of 1,067 members registered, and approximately 2,700 people attended this year's annual meeting. In his remarks, CEO/General Manager Mark Rocker, Roecker, took a moment to talk about what it was like in rural areas before electricity, referencing lighting, cooking, heating, entertainment, and setting poles. Of course, this is a quote from him, quote, "Of course, so much of our entertainment today, whether it comes from the television, radio, or computer, depends on the kilowatt hour that Laclede Electric Cooperative provides. Just think there would be no smartphones or a cell phone if there were no electricity," end quote. Gentlemen, your comments? Robert, why don't you go first?
Oh, well, it's just appealing to the masses with that statement there, Vincent. Most people think that way. Obviously, you and I and Rich, we don't think that way, and most of the class, but they're just appealing to the voters. That's my comment.
Rich Scheben.
Vince, when the music stopped or slowed down, I spoke for about 10 to 15 seconds because I could not hear your voice.
Yeah.
So my question is, did you hear what I was saying, or?
Yes, yes, I did.
Okay.
Rich, I was there. I was there for all of it. I was talking at the same time. I think there was just a setting that was set so that you weren't able to.
Okay.
But
well,
yeah,
there was
by the way,
obviously a glitch. And, let me answer your question. Basically, it's a quid pro quo situation is what's happening, and at every level, at every corporate oligarchy, even the small electric co-ops. It's kind of analogous to the term wash trade. It's basically what's happening very, very obviously today, where they're trying to create money velocity and manufacture interest in the stock market right now, okay? And it's the same company or industry trading at the same time, like a big bank buys at the same time a big bank sells. It's basically a collusion racketeering scenario. And that's what's happening in corporate America because the business models, as we've discussed many times, is not flourishing. It's basically getting the stock price up, but not increasing R&D, not increasing employment, and especially not increasing goods and services for the people. If anything, the quality of the goods and services is going down dramatically to create more volume and more turnover, more attrition, etc. So that's exactly what's happening today in corporate America at every level, Vince.
Okay. On the website, it says I'm quoting, each registered member received an attendance prize and was eligible to win prizes in drawings throughout the evening. In the grand prize drawing held at the end of the business meeting, 5 members won $100 credit on their electric bill. 2 members won an iPad Air, and 1 lucky member won a 65-inch television. Now, I've got to ask you, why? Why are we, the members, paying for this carnival? Why does it have to cost $65,000 a year? By the way, to have this event, $65,000. So it's roughly $65 per registered voter. Okay, roughly 1,000 voters who showed up, and the carnival cost $65,000. I'm calling it a carnival because it really was. It really was for a lot of people. I mean, yeah, there was a vote. Can they do a vote without the carnival? Absolutely. Absolutely, they could. Well, and when you look at how long these directors have been on, 46 years, 19 years, 14 years, 9 years, 7 years, 6 years, and 3 years, don't they feel that maybe they should give somebody else a chance? Don't they feel that? Or do they think that they're entitled to this for life? And what do they get?
Literally have,
what do these guys... Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say they literally have the power, Vince, and they're dealing in that. And you see them, they give some of it away, openly right in front of you. And then you never know. Rich is talking about deals that are made with industry or with larger other corporate organizations where maybe they can influence their corporate culture in a way, or their church, or whatever. These are kind of small examples, but you can deal if you have the power in any way. You can deal in that, and so the corruption, like Rich was saying, it can be multiple levels, and so you just never really know who is agreeing to what in the background.
You hit it right on the head. Another paragraph on their website says the students selected to represent Laclede Electric Cooperative on the annual youth tour. The annual youth tour to Washington, D.C., and Missouri Conservative Youth and Leadership Experience were brought on stage and recognized by everyone in attendance. Why do we pay for that? I mean, gosh, we can't do it. We can't have youth come to the electric cooperative to learn. Here's what happened. They had 2 booths. You walk in and you file past 2 booths before you can register. One of them was the Laclede Electric Cooperative booth in the lobby, and the other was from the power generation company. Now, why would they have that? Well, we buy electricity at 5 cents a kilowatt and sell it at 10 cents a kilowatt. Finelli's plan is to get farmers and those with land and rooftops to put solar panels on them and sell electricity at 2.1 cents per kilowatt. Now, that would cut into the revenue of the power generation company that was there at the booth at the Electric Cooperative annual meeting. So my plan goes against the big machine, the cooperation between the distribution company, which is Laclede Electric. They own the wires, right? They have the wires and the transformers, and they bring you the electricity through their power poles and transformers and substations and so forth. But we don't generate it. We buy it. Well, I want it to be purchased from farmers at 2.1 cents per kilowatt and insulate us from the grid collapse when it happens from an electromagnetic pulse or coronal mass ejection. But that's not acceptable because I'm cutting out the revenue in my plan, some of the revenue, to this power generation conglomerate. That's the problem. That's who we were going up against. We weren't going up just against, Little Laclede Electric Cooperative. We were going up against the electric utility company conglomerate. That's the problem. Does that make sense, Robert?
Yes, Vincent, it makes perfect sense. You said fight the machine, and that's what we do here, right? That's what we're doing anyway, so it makes sense that, you would be seen that way. And you're absolutely right in terms of getting solar panels and a more distributed system that's more robust and could withstand, downturns or calamities where they wouldn't be affected the same way. So, you want to build knowledge and a robust system, and you want to build these, things into the community, into society where they're dependent on keeping you, their dependence is based on your dependence on the grid, on all the systems, whether it's water, waste disposal, it's everything really, but it is the grid, and that's where they want to keep you. And you talk about energy, energy is, people take it for granted, and it's one of those things where if you can move, if you just push towards energy, let's say you don't do anything else, you don't grow anything, you don't do anything else, you just do energy, well, you've accomplished something that, you look at the industries based on energy, the oil companies, all the electric, all the power plants, everything, like you're going up against the governing structure of society, the corporations. So you're making people free, making them independent, and you're freeing their mind, Vincent. Everything you said there, I thought of three things that you said that I really liked, but you also just the knowledge too. It's not even that they have wind or solar on their property. It's that the knowledge that you're putting out is just fantastic. And it's local. I said, the local part of it. Go ahead.
I said on stage that I built one of these things. It's up and it's running. It's been running for 2 years. It's not like, Vinny has this idea and maybe it could work, and if we got some experts and we hired them, maybe we could do it. I said I would teach how to do this. And they cut me off before I was able to say, my plan is I will be your teacher. I will volunteer to be your teacher at Laclede Electric Cooperative. We'll bring in some others as well, but these classes will be free. We will teach you how to lower your electric bill. We will teach you how to provide electricity to your friends and neighbors in the cooperative. We're all in it together, but they wouldn't let me say that. And what happens with these directors? They get 75% of their medical insurance is paid by the cooperative. 24-hour accident and business and life insurance and dental insurance is paid at 100% by the cooperative. Are there reasons to be a director? You bet. And I agreed, and I said publicly on stage at the meeting, on the microphone, that I would forgo all of that.
That's one of my favorite things as well on my list.
If the others would as well. And not one of them said, hey, Vinny had a really good idea. I just heard him mention something pretty cool. Yeah, let's give up our compensation. Not one of the other candidates, said, I'll do that too. Not one. Let me say it a different way. Not one. They're in it for the money. Make no mistake. We'll be right back. Rich Sheben's with us. Very quick message, class. Rich Sheben and I both thought it'd be really neat if we had a little village. Well, it's happening. It's happening. So there's a farm, and if there weren't a dirt road between our farm and this other farm, our farms would join. Who is that? A USA Prepares instructor. What farm joins that farm? One of our class. So now we have 3 farms right in a row, 1, 2, 3, right here in our village in Missouri, where we have 3 of USA Prepares. And a 4th, just across the road, wants to buy that farm. And there are other farms available right here in our neck of the woods, right where we live. And so, class, if you're interested in being within, let's say, a mile of the Finelli farm, there are farms that you can buy. And if you're interested, contact me at instructor@USA Prepares, INSTRUCTOR at USAPREPARES.com. I will help you make that happen. Many of these farms are not on the market, but I know they're available, and we can make it happen. Rich Sheben?
Well, Well, yeah, and we have to stop this, or we look at this every man for himself philosophy and attitude, because a divided America means the aristocracy gets a great life and the bottom 93% basically gets to take drugs, alcohol, watch TV, and be groomed and cultivated to be followers and have no quality of life. And what we have to do is read up, research up, and speak up, and, of course, vote up, because there's a lot of people who don't understand a lot of the legislation that's happened even before Trump came in. For example, Obama signed an executive order to federalize elections. Basically, that means, in code, the little guy will have no voice. And with big tech, who is selling out the little guy, the bottom 93% of income earners in America, it's going to be almost impossible to climb that wall. And when I'm talking about read up and research up, let me give you a few examples. I remember polls and interviews with, they were interviewing so-called Democrats who said, what's wrong with peace with Russia and North Korea? And they said, well, Trump and the Republicans are going to get the credit. Over 70% of people said that. Another example is when they were interviewing who knows how many people, I've seen this many times, where they were talking about these ideas that Bernie Sanders has. And every so-called leftist Democrat said, oh, great ideas. And you know what? Every one of them was Trump's idea. So we are allowing this left-right paradigm and basically manufactured perception, pity, guilt, and ideology by the mainstream media to control what people think. That's why they love race baiting and gender baiting and religion baiting and ideology baiting and the whole works. So we have to put things in perspective. We have to prepare ourselves, not just in the sense of preparation for skill sets and living off grid and growing food and raising animals and frugality and all the things that we talk about here. But the game is so rigged at the little level, whether it be your electric co-op in your little town, or it could be the central banks, Keynesian economics, group identity politics, our present demographic situation. The game is rigged where all we have left from an investment perspective and foresight is speculation on hedging, because we don't know where things are going to go, because everything's about corruption, manipulation, nepotism, deception, and it's getting very hard for the little guy to control his or her own destiny, especially with what's coming in the realm of robotics, automation, artificial intelligence, and our present technocracy situation. So we need to stick together, folks, not from a hyphenated American perspective, but from the bottom 93% Americans' perspective. We're not going to stand a chance if we stay the divided groups of America. Vincent?
Well, let's give that time to Robert. Robert in Kansas, you've got about 15 seconds, 20 seconds.
Oh, that's not very long. Well, everything you said, Rich, absolutely correct. And we're going to work on solutions at USA Prepares, and we can just spread the message, locally or nationally as best you can. That's all you can do.
Robert in Kansas, thank you. Thank you so much. That was great. Rich Scheben, thank you so much for all of your hard work and contributions.